lighter topic, both your organization and ours at Catapult, we both rely on getting out to meet a lot of people. Networking functions, big industry functions, lunches with 200, 300, or 500 people. Well, maybe not so much anymore. And I remember the last big lunch I went to in December, and I can't remember, but there were several hundred people there, I know that much. And it was like, right, that doesn't mean we're never going to go out and shake another set of hands anymore. Of course we will. But the traditional way of networking amongst industry peers, and meeting new associates, and potential meeting prospects, whatever it might be, it's probably not going to come back in the same manner. It'll come back in different ways. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. What are some of those different ways?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The world, at least for the time being, has changed fundamentally. And once again, looking at the tools that, and they're not new tools, they were always in place for networking, but providing those tools and opportunities for, what I'd call much more structured networking or more focused networking rather than the accidental networking that happens at really, really large events. You think about those large events of 500 that you attend in the past, and not all networking is networking that is going to have a dividend for your business. You might go to that 500 person event and really not get much business out of it at all, or you might meet 2 people over lunch and get an enormous amount of work out of it. So I think that we need to once again be really careful that we don't, as a society, misplace our understanding of trust with familiarity alone. Trust isn't just built around familiarity. Trust is built through familiarity at the beginning instances, but trust is very much born about through competence and consistency and delivery on promises. And so I think that we can still do some of those initial meet and greets through different forums. I, for example, was on a forum just yesterday afternoon on Zoom with about 30 other CEOs, particularly with some of the networking tools. You can break down into smaller groups, made that be issues based or sector based or on whatever basis. So you can definitely still meet new people and collaborate using electronic tools. I think the building of trust then comes down to making sure that it's a valued relationship, that you're delivering on promises, that you're demonstrating the capability, that give people confidence that you're going to be a trusted relationship going forward. So those things haven't fundamentally changed. I think we've often misplaced trust for familiarity. They're not the same thing. And I think that we can definitely build new relationships using digital tools. And quite intimately, I have to say also, I think that because you have to work a bit harder on digital platforms like Zoom and Teams and the other digital platforms that exist at the moment, I mean, number one, it's exhausting being on Zoom all day because you actually have to give a lot of energy to connect with someone via a digital platform. So there is an energy flow consideration to be had, but also it can be really quite intimate in that you learn a lot about a person. You're learning about where I sleep at the moment right now, and kids and dogs and all of those sorts of things. I'm actually finding that I know a lot more about my staff and the real person behind the employee at the moment by seeing them in their home environment and the way that they interact in the home environment. So
that's very true. And I think one thing that actually happened that's kind of interesting is that when you've been meeting people physically in the past, in a meeting and whatever not, it's a certain ritual. You say, "Good day, how's your day been? Oh, how's the family? Da 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 da." And then you get into the meeting, and it's almost like a set agenda every time you meet someone for an hour. And because there's not the transport time and whatever not that we need to get to a virtual meeting, because I just open the laptop and I click the button and we're here. And we don't have the same ritual around it. What it opens up for is that either you have a really compressed and very effective meeting. Okay, let's get on to business, which one of our section 27A, let's get on with it. Or you can completely meander at will because you actually have the time to do that you otherwise wouldn't. Yeah. And so we now create instead of a social interaction that is formulaic, it actually creates a lot more openness around, well, what do I feel like sharing? What's happening in my world? You just talked about, energy flow a moment ago, and it's, I can echo the same thing. I had 2 weeks ago, I spent, I think, 9 hours on Zoom for the day, and I was rotten at the end of the day. And it's just like, I feel physically ill. I was like, gee, was there something I ate? No, did I not get sleep? No, I'm good. But what did oh, bugger, I spent 9 hours on Zoom. Well, that's probably what it was. And we just need to accept that, hey, this is just a different way of being. Where I'm sure the teenagers around us going, well, this is how we always live, so what's your problem? But
yeah, and so I think as leaders, the other thing is that you need to make sure that you're conscious of that, and that you're building in enough time for the subconscious niceties, social interaction time around the edges of meetings, because it can be the inclination, because Zoom is exhausting, to jump on and say, right, into the agenda. But I think sort of saying, okay, we've been going for an hour, let's have a 10-minute break. Everyone go and get some lunch or a coffee and come back, and we won't start for 15 minutes, and we just sit around and have a chat and really, I think you need to program in that time a lot more consciously and make sure that there's a good balance.